It looked like QPR were in for a very long afternoon, having gone 2-0 down against Sheffield United 13 minutes in on Saturday, but a drastically improved second half display saw the R's battle their way back to their first championship point this season, thanks to goals from Jimmy Dunn and Lyndon Dykes. Better yet, our new wide players Karamoko, Dembélé and Koki Saito very much lived up to the hype they arrived with earlier this week, with both of them having impressive debuts and getting an assist each for their troubles. So as usual, let's break down this performance, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Martí Cifuentes made 4 changes to the side that kicked off our season at West Brom last weekend, opting to swap Jonathan Varane in for his first league start in place of Jack Colback, and entirely replacing his front three of Colley, Seller and Smith with Lloyd, Frey and Dembélé. It was great in particular to see Dembélé slotting straight into this starting 11 and Saito available on the bench, but I was also really pleased to see both Lloyd and Frey start, presumably rewarded for their performances away at Cambridge on Tuesday night, and it made me optimistic pre-match that these 4 shuffles of the pack could get us competing against what looks to be a tough Blade side, more so than we did against West Brom last weekend. Unfortunately though, like all of us, that optimism faded quickly in the first half, because the poor defending we witnessed against both Cambridge and West Brom was still very much on display here. Sheffield United's first goal arrived just 6 minutes in. O'Hare went for goal first, with Dunn's inability to deal with a long ball up to Kiefer Moore, and Varane not tracking his man, gifting the ex-Coventry midfielder the same freedom of space down our right as Hegem had been gifted this time last week. Steve Cook blocked the shot in the box, but after Dembélé was wiped out trying to play it out and ignored by the ref, the attack continued, and we still hadn't learnt our lesson. Because O'Hare was given all the time in the world again just inside our box, this time opting to set it on a plate for Gus Hamer on his right, who appeared to be socially distanced by every QPR player in a 2-metre radius, and he took advantage with a powerful low drive into the bottom left corner. QPR went looking for the equaliser quickly, with Dembélé unleashing his first shot outside the box but missing to the right. But we were too gung-ho in our attacking approach on the whole, and we were punished again on 13 minutes for committing too many players forward. It started with a long ball up from Steve Cook to Powell, but when his cross was cleared out of danger, Dunn had also thrown himself up the wing and was immediately passed out the equation. Varane half-heartedly tried to extinguish the counter by muscling O'Hare, but only ended up eating grass himself. Hamer bounded forward for the overlap, and Kiefer Moore was ready at the back post to double the advantage. Kenneth Powell had barely arrived back into the box by the time the ball hit the empty net. And unfortunately, we just looked a complete mess. This defence and this defensive midfield, so robust since the turn of the year, was once again, for the 3rd time this week, all over the place. Last weekend we gave this team the excuse that West Brom are a side that will be up in the playoffs again, and with Sheffield United this is a relegated Premier League side that will most likely be in the Premier League again this time next season. But if we give any team in English football this kind of time and space on the ball, we will be and were punished. And just like last weekend, there were problems all over the pitch, but the midfield was the biggest issue again for me. Varane, as I mentioned, looked really lightweight in this first half. Field continued to look like he's never seen a football, and Anderson injured himself 43 minutes in, taking a bloody corner, leading to Paul Smith replacing him and Dembélé being shuffled into the middle. On the topic of Dembélé, he was at least a very early positive, because even at 2-0 down, and even having had the ball picked off of him for the first goal, he looked really good. He looks excellent on the ball, he regularly beats his man, and it was clear very, very early, even amongst the dirge of this first half performance, that we have a proper footballer on our hands. But unfortunately, we just didn't have any others in this first half to join in with him. Now, it's a cliche to say I'd love to have known what the manager said in the changing room at half-time, but seriously, what did Marty say at half-time? Because this couldn't have been a more improved second half of football from QPR. Obviously, we could see part of his thinking with his second sub of the match at the start of the second half, with Jack Colback swapping in for Jonathan Varane, and that change actually did the trick because it fortified our midfield, it allowed us to retain the ball, and we started to create more. In fact, we had more chances between the 49th minute and the 55th than we had in the entire match so far until that point, and the pressure we were applying finally started to pin Sheffield United back. Dembélé continued to be at the centre of it all, and he looked really dangerous in those central spaces. And it was his excellent corner ball to Jimmy Dunn at the near right post on 55 minutes, a corner routine we saw so many times to no avail against West Brom last weekend, that resulted in our first goal back. Our Irish Cafu glanced the ball into the bottom left corner over a sea of red and white, and boy did he relish the limbs from the away end directly in front of him. Jimmy Dunn only scores bangers, pass it on. And once we found the first, we were up and fighting, and we were not looking to back down, and it was all QPR at this point. And smelling the chance for at least a draw, Marty looked to his bench once again, opting to make a double change of Sella for Dembélé and Saito for Lloyd. It was a shame to see Dembélé leave the pitch given how good he'd been, presumably due to a lack of match fitness, but Koki Saito truly took the flame and carried it down the left on his first appearance for the R's too. Just like Karamoko, he is tricky, he makes things look so easy, and he's going to be a pleasure to watch this season. He was involved instantly, putting in Powell nicely in behind before he was blocked for a corner, and that was one which so nearly saw Sella find his first QPR goal in the bottom right until Jack Robinson intervened on the line. Saito took the game by the scruff of the neck, and he was a real game changer and important player in carrying us towards this draw. But we don't ever make things completely easy for ourselves though, and by we, I of course mean Jack Colback, who after having an important impact on this game at half time, was booked twice in 4 minutes for harassing the fourth official to book one of Sheffield United's players. I don't really know what to say at this point about him. He's a complete liability, and I really hope we don't need to rely on him too much this season, because at 34 years old, his head and heart is just not in it for me. If anything, it does emphasise that we do need Hayden or someone like him in before the end of the window, because Colback's experience changed the game at half time, but we're not going to be able to rely on him. Luckily for him though, we didn't sink back when we went down to 10 men. The chances kept coming, still driven by Saito. He went close to finding his first assist on 81 minutes when his scooped ball into the box to Frey was headed just over the bar, but he would only have to wait another 7 minutes before getting his first QPR goal involvement for real, driving at goal from Jake Clark-Salter's diagonal and cutting the ball neatly back to Frey's substitute Dykes to side foot the ball first time on the edge of the box into the bottom left corner. Just brilliant for Koki to get an assist on his first appearance, just like Dembélé, and I'm really chuffed for Linden after finding himself the bottom of the striker pile that he's already found the net after 2 games. As pointed out by Jack Supple on Twitter, that's his 3rd goal in 5 QPR appearances, having only hit 2 in the previous 25. Added time stretched on for 9 minutes, and Sheffield United weren't going to give away the 2 points easily, with extortionate loanee Raksaki nearly exploiting Powell's defensive weakness at the death and forcing a lunging block from Jake Clark-Salter. Chris Wilder's side had 4 shots in the next 2 minutes, but we stood resolute. The whistle was blown for full time, the comeback was complete, and Sheffield United remained winless at home in 2024. What a point that is, and a very much deserved draw. Finally, after 5 confusing halves of football so far, we really saw it come together in that second half, and we really saw what an impact Koki and Karamoko are going to have on this team. It's baffling how much better we looked in the second half, but we did have this problem last season where we just couldn't seem to string together 2 halves of football, and thankfully we got the good half in the second rather than the opposite way round. We saw some quality in flashes in that first half against Cambridge United with that excellent first team goal, so the fact we were able to show some quality again despite some of these existing defensive issues should be so good for the confidence of this side and should hopefully leave us feeling a little bit calmer about the situation. Marty, once again, as we've come to know, changed the game with his substitutions. He really is good at that, and he'll have learned a ton about his side again from this display. Dembélé and Saito have made themselves very strong cases to start against Plymouth next weekend, and they will be a real problem if we can get the pair of them on the pitch together. And if the idea of Chair coming back into this side in the middle of those two doesn't excite you once he's come back from injury, I don't know what would. This obviously doesn't completely wash over the first half display. There was some really poor defending which needs to be ironed out. We obviously lost Lucas Anderson to injury. We don't know how severe that's going to be. But there were so many positives in that second half. If we can just get things going right from the first whistle against Plymouth, and get a win against them, this could be a really nice start to the season. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let me know what you thought about this result in the comments below. As I said at the start, if you've enjoyed this post-match reaction, then make sure to hit like and subscribe. And you can also become a supporter of the channel for $1.99 a month as well, if that interests you, via the link in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video for my Plymouth Argyle preview. Cheers!